The movie begins with a girl named Julia, who is talking about some selfies taken from hell while making a video. These selfies are causing a lot of people to die. Next, we see a girl named Hannah, who is a blogger. She lives alone in her house and is talking to her close friend Trevor while working. Trevor is a very good friend of hers. He asks about Hannah's cousin, who was supposed to visit her, but Hannah tells him that her cousin's flight got delayed because her boyfriend was sick. The next day, Hannah goes to the airport to pick up her cousin, and it turns out her cousin is none other than Julia. Both of them are really happy to meet each other. Hannah asks Julia about her boyfriend, but Julia's reaction makes her worried. To lighten the mood, Hannah takes out her phone to click a selfie, but Julia stops her immediately. Hannah finds this a bit weird, but she ignores it, and they head home. On the way, Julia types in a URL, which turns out to be a dark web link. Back at home, Hannah goes to make tea and tells Julia to rest. Meanwhile, Julia looks at her phone, sees a crack on the screen, and starts crying when she sees a picture of her boyfriend. When Julia tries to take a selfie, she sees a dark figure standing behind her. But when she switches to the back camera, there's nothing there. Hannah is in the kitchen when she suddenly hears Julia scream. When she runs to her, she finds Julia unconscious. Seeing her condition, Hannah calls a doctor, who says there's nothing serious. Julia will be fine after some rest. The next morning, Hannah checks on Julia. Julia seems ready to go about her day, although she's acting a little off. Hannah doesn't think much of it and gets back to work. While working, Hannah gets a text from Julia's phone, which makes her happy because she thinks Julia is fine now. But when she goes to see her, Julia is still unconscious. Hannah starts searching for Julia's phone. When she can't find it, she calls it from her own phone and discovers it in the closet. Later, when Hannah is alone, she gets another text from Julia's phone. This time it's a voice note. When she plays it, she hears strange, creepy noises. Hannah runs to check on Julia again, but Julia is still unconscious. Hannah decides to search for the URL Julia had typed, and finds out that it's connected to the dark web. She tries to access the site, but she can't get in. That night, as Hannah is about to sleep, she gets another text from Julia. Panicking, she runs to her room and finds Julia's body ice cold. Hannah covers her with a blanket when suddenly, she hears a noise at the door. She locks the door and grabs a knife to check the house, but no one is there. The next morning, Hannah tells Trevor about all this. Trevor warns her not to take these things lightly. She should have called the police right away. But Hannah brushes it off, thinking maybe Julia was just sleepwalking. Then, she asks Trevor about paranormal activities. After the call, Hannah starts watching Julia's YouTube videos. In one of the videos, Julia talks about how the first selfie ever was taken by an American photographer in 1839. Then, Julia mentions the dark web and promises to reveal more in her next video. But Hannah can't find the next video anywhere. When she searches for the next part online, she finds several creepy articles about Julia's death. But when she checks, Julia is still unconscious. Hannah touches Julia, only to find her hands covered in blood. She rushes to wash her hands, but there's no blood at all. Terrified, Hannah rushes to Trevor and tells him about all the strange things happening. She's scared and believes everything is linked to Julia. She also tells Trevor about the dark web link. Hannah asks for Trevor's help to access the link, so Trevor sends an email to request access, but warns her not to share any personal information, no matter what. Back at home, Hannah opens the link Trevor sent. It takes her to a private chat room. To enter, she has to answer 3 questions. The first question asks for her real name. Hannah tries to enter a fake name, but the site immediately detects the lie, so she has no choice but to enter her real name. The second question asks about her secret desire, which turns out to be a one-night stand with a stranger. The third question asks for her biggest fear. And for Hannah, that's being alone for the rest of her life. After answering all 3 questions, Hannah gets access to the chat room. This isn't an ordinary chat room. There's something paranormal about it. Hannah chooses the username Lori and searches for the black room. When she doesn't find anything, she asks the other users about the URL Julia had typed. Suddenly, She gets a private message from a strange user who knew Julia. He even knows that Julia missed her flight, which was very personal information. When Hannah says Julia is sick and asks for help, the mysterious user asks for her email address, and she gives it to him, which turns out to be her biggest mistake. Hannah receives a link via email. When she opens it, a creepy video plays, and suddenly, her front camera takes several selfies on its own. Her phone screen cracks just like Julia's did. It becomes clear the same thing that happened to Julia is happening to her. Next, Hannah gets a call from an unknown number. The caller enjoys scaring her and tells her that Julia's boyfriend is dead, and Julia will die soon too. After that, it'll be Hannah's turn. Horrified, Hannah calls Julia's boyfriend only to find out that he really is dead. Suddenly, Julia sits up with a creepy, possessed look on her face. Terrified, Hannah calls Trevor and asks him to come over. When he arrives, they use Julia's laptop to look for more clues. Eventually, they find the website Hannah has been trying to track down. Trevor asks Hannah if she knows about the Black Room, but she doesn't. Trevor explains that the Red Room is where people pay to watch others suffer. But in the Black Room, people pay to be the performers themselves. Trevor asks if Hannah still wants Black Room access. Hannah says she already has the URL. This makes Trevor suspicious that Hannah may have already leaked her personal info on the dark web. While making coffee, Hannah starts seeing disturbing images. Meanwhile, Trevor finds the second part of Julia's Selfie from Hell video on her laptop. In the first part, Julia explained that when she tried to investigate the origin of these cursed selfies on the dark web, she met someone called the Fear Eater. This is the same person who asked Hannah for her email. Julia's video warns viewers not to look at the 13 cursed selfies in the Black Room, no matter what. That night, Trevor and Hannah go to sleep. But in the middle of the night, Julia appears in front of Hannah. Hearing her scream, Trevor rushes upstairs and finds Julia struggling to breathe. They take her to the hospital, where the doctor says she probably won't make it until morning. Back home, Hannah calls the Fear Eater, who tells her to send Trevor away. He promises not to hurt her, and hangs up. Hannah senses something and follows the noise to the TV, where images of Julia appear. As soon as she sees them, she faints. Exactly what Julia had warned against. When Hannah wakes up, her hands are tied, and the Fear Eater is right in front of her. He's preparing a live stream for the dark web audience. He feeds off people's fear and is no ordinary human, he's a demon. The Fear Eater reveals that for 2 years, he hadn't felt fear, making his life feel incomplete. That's when he learned about a terrifying demon linked to the Black Room. After countless deaths, he discovered the curse. The 13 selfies must not be viewed. But Mark, Julia, and Hannah were all foolish enough to look. The Fear Eater prepares to take Hannah's 13 selfies, but Trevor arrives just in time to save her. They escape, but Trevor has already seen the cursed selfies. His screen cracked too, meaning now he's cursed. They end up at the same deserted place Julia had planned to visit. There, they find a photo album and an old camera, along with recordings of a doctor researching a mysterious criminal who later attacked him. Suddenly, they encounter the demon itself, and Hannah faints. To see the demon, Trevor starts taking selfies. When Hannah regains consciousness, the demon attacks both of them. In the end, they all become possessed, trapped by the demon forever. And the film ends with a tragic twist. So, how did you like today's story? For more videos like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.